What's up, guys? It's Gardy B with the Jenkins Jonez show. As always, I'm here with my good internet buddies, Dragonfly Jones, a.k.a. Tyler.
What's up, guys?
LeJethro Jenkins, a.k.a. John.
What's up, bubbas? And if you fuck with us, you want to see more of our content, please jump on YouTube and subscribe to our channel.
Let's talk about the Heat Celtics. Game 1 was yesterday.
We can skip this, actually.
What's that?
we don't have to. We don't actually have
Well,
to.
Jackson, while we've got you on.
While you're here.
While we got you here, bud, just wanted to loop you in on a group conversation about the Heat Celtics. Tyler, John, were you surprised by this game? Either of you?
Yes. Yes and no. Yes, I was surprised that the Celtics let it get away from them, but no, I wasn't surprised by how it got away from them because, like we talked about, they're still a team that is not executing playoff championship basketball, and we saw that with how the game got away from them, late in the second half of that game. So yeah, I was surprised that it got away from them, but not in the way that it did, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing too is like, I love Tatum. I love Jaylen Brown. Obviously, I talk about Tatum all the time. Probably my favorite, my favorite player in the league. But they have moments when they're just so loose with the ball, and they're young. I know they're I mean,
they're
Tatum,
pounding the fuck out of the rock.
Yeah.
It's like they're dribbling it up by their ear and shit. They're just too turned up.
Right? You're trying to split defenses with the dribbling the ball at your chest. It's just. And so, like, these moments where they show their immaturity, where they're good enough to do it, they just don't have the experience yet. You know what I'm saying? Where they take their foot off the pedal or just lose focus. You can't do that, especially against a Spo coach team. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do that. They're gonna abuse that. And I was surprised by the first half how hot that came out, where they were getting everything they wanted at the cup. Getting every shot they wanted basically. And then the second half, how they Spo, clogged all that shit up that was getting in the lane. And it just, I think they had 14 in the quarter or
they're
12
slow to
quarter,
readjust. They scored 12, I believe, in the third quarter. And they're slow to counterpunch. It's like, Spo makes the adjustment, clogs up the lane. Well, we're going to score 12 points in 12 minutes.
And then it's a full
like
quarter
you said,
of struggling. You know what I'm saying? I get the
Tatum
first 5 or 6 minutes.
I think did Tatum take 3 shots the whole quarter? Because you've pointed that out. You've pointed that out that it's like they're not disciplined offensively. Like if it starts going wrong, it's going to go super wrong for a while.
I think he had more turnovers than points that quarter.
He had 6 turnovers in the third quarter.
7 towards the end. I think he had 1 in the first half.
He finished with 7, and he had 6 in the third quarter.
Yeah,
that's not ideal. Jackson, were you surprised by the way that went? And as a Celtics fan, how are you? Are you shrugging that game off, or are you worried about that series?
I was a little surprised it unraveled for so long. The Celtics did not convert a made field goal until the 4 or 5 minute mark in the third quarter. That's a long time for a struggle like that. It was like the worst quarter of the season offensively. So I agree that they get a little sloppy, but I was surprised that it went on for that long. As far as the rest of the series, I'm not going to say I'm shrugging it off because Jimmy Butler is clearly turned into God, but the Celtics won the other 3 quarters. They did. And also Marcus Smart was out. And he's going to be back for game 2. Horford's likely not, which is a bummer. But Marcus Smart playing 38 minutes means that instead of 30 Peyton Pritchard minutes, there's probably 14 of them.
Bro.
So him getting picked on is just not as much of an issue. Especially if you can try to match the Pritchard minutes to when Butler is sitting. There's not that many of those minutes. Yeah. But if you can do that, they were hunting
that dude for sport.
Peyton, he has to be like a flamethrower for it to make sense for him to be on the court. Because they just saw food every time he was in front of them. Like, go get you a bucket. You know what I mean?
He was good offensively, actually. He actually was good.
Yeah, he was solid the first half.
He's not, can't hang with the on defense against a team like the Heat. That's as smart as the Heat are.
And I wanted to say that I was like, what is Jimmy Butler going to do? He's going to guard Tatum on one end and then get 40 on the other? Like, that's going to happen? That's exactly what the fuck he did. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see if he can continue to do that. But, I mean, he did it in game 1. So, I mean, that was...
We had some rare tension in the group chat over this game.
Bro, y'all made up some salient points. No, you know what I mean? No, like also like me going from like Duke to being a Celtics fan is just so unfortunate. So unfortunate. But I'm not rooting for the Celtics. I'm rooting for Tatum. But it's so I
Accept
get
it into your life, John.
Bro, I just can't get away from the Caucasus Mountains. They follow me wherever I go. Caucasity just won't leave me alone. It won't leave me be. Jesus Christ, though. But yeah.
But I think we got to talk about that motherfucker Jimmy Butler, man. Like it seems like every regular season I'm like, yeah, man, Jimmy Butler's best years might be behind him. Then every postseason he spazzes the fuck out, bro. And you know, I think it's a little bigger than Jimmy. You know what I mean? Because Jimmy has been, you know, he's a fucking mid-range monster this postseason. Like that right elbow has been money, right? So like mid-range and clamping up on defense. If you do that in the postseason, you're going to be just fine regardless of how, you know, you might have been slumping in the regular season. Like we saw that last year with Middleton, right? Like motherfuckers would get, like he was eating so much in the mid-range that motherfuckers were like, yo, this might be the Batman of this team. Giannis might be the Robin. We saw that fucking 2020 with AD when he went crazy in the mid-range. We saw that 2019 when Kawhi went crazy in the mid-range, right? Like I think that as much as the game evolves to where it's, you know, 3-point bucket or layup, that mid-range is going to always be what you can fucking hang your hat on to get a championship, bro. Like, that's never going to change, dog.
And a bucket's a bucket, G. If you can get a bucket, no matter how you get it, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? If you go to the mid-range, you get a bucket. If you can shoot that shit, shoot that shit. Just like, you know, Katie was talking about. You know what I'm saying? He plays basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Jimmy's fun. Jimmy in the playoffs is fun. He's a different animal. I don't know if it's the way that the game changes or if it's just that he's just one of those guys that he just feels differently about the playoffs. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but he definitely just seems like he's the type of asshole who lives for the playoffs, right? He's living for the Tobias Harris over me.
Oh, man. Is there anybody more underrated than Jimmy? Because we talk about Booker and not getting respect and all that shit, but Jimmy, bro.
I think he's correctly rated during the regular season because I just don't. I mean, when I watch a Heat game, he's just a different player in the playoffs. You can't take your eyes off him in a playoff game. He's just a completely different monster. And so I think we rate him correctly when the playoffs come and you're like, oh, this dude just can't miss television. But I don't feel bad about not putting him up in the top level of dudes during the regular season, personally.
We don't hear anybody talking about Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody ever talks about, when we bring up Jimmy, it's like they showed the clip of him getting frustrated. You know what I'm saying? Bad teammate, all this shit. Jimmy, when it's time to get buckets, is a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to start talking about that. So that's, I mean, I'm not saying he's better than Booker. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying that Jimmy does what he needs to do when it's time.
Who would you take in the playoffs?
You say, oh shit. You talk about, I mean, Jimmy. Like, I mean, Jimmy's been proven to be a dog in the biggest moments. You know what I'm saying? And what he did against the Lakers was incredible. You know what I'm saying? Like, going crazy, but
I hated him in the whole series.
20. I mean, he averages 22 points a game off of 50% regular season.
Yeah. And they got the 1 seed. It's not like they were taking
right. Those are good numbers. So like,
but half of his games in the playoffs, he scored 40.
So like, but his regular season, those are great numbers in the regular season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think he's just a prime example of, you know, regardless of how much the game evolves, you're not going to win in the playoffs if you don't work the mid-range, if you don't play defense, and if you don't execute in the half court. No matter how much the game evolves, if you don't do that 1948-ass basketball shit right there, right, you're not going anywhere, bro.
And without playing a style that doesn't transport to the playoffs like some free throw hunters we could name, he's also getting to the free throw. I think he was 18 and 19 from the free throw line in the first game. I think he had his 40 points was on like 19 shots, right? 18, 19 shots. Like that works too, because he's not dancing around the perimeter. Like he's genuinely he's forcing contact. He's forcing fouls. And not in the way that Grant Williams, who's my least favorite basketball player in the fucking NBA right now, not in the way that he's forcing contact by actively throwing himself under the tires of speeding semi-trucks and hoping to get a fucking call. But by driving the ball and forcing people to defend him and getting to the foul line.
Y'all just mad because he got Giannis the fuck up out of here. Grant Williams is what did it. You know what I mean?
He had one of the charges he tried to take on Bam that they correctly called a blocking foul was the textbook perfect example of why they need to legislate this shit out of the fucking game, because Bam ended up, he only didn't horribly injure his ankle because he allowed himself to just fall on top of Grant Williams instead of planting his foot. And I think he ended up elbowing Grant Williams or kicking him in the face and knocking his head into the ground. But it's like, who is this good for? You want guys trying to defend Giannis like this in the NBA?
Bro, I get that, but there's no other way to guard Giannis and just like, that's the only way to approach
just
that.
Falling under his feet and hoping they call an offensive foul.
No, I'm just saying,
I'm
talking about Giannis bangs a lot. So just trying to absorb that, take the charge. I get that with Giannis. I mean, you don't need to do that with everybody, but I mean, wait till Lowry comes back. It's going to be a fucking charge mania around this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Bro.
That motherfucker flopped off of a Max Struss, move to the side. Yep. Did y'all see that shit?
Yes, I did. And that was when I started yelling obscenities at my fucking television. Get this fucking dude off the court, bro.
Yeah. Fuck Grant Williams, man. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if that's his only resort against guarding Giannis. I just can't fuck. The man flopped when they were battling for position, bro. Like, that is just... No, I get the whole, it's smart to take charges and shit, but bro, it's like, at what point are you being a bitch about it, bro? Like, you're flopping when you battling for position. You flopping when Max Struss is tapping you on your back. Like, it's too much, bro.
I was glad to see that the officials are onto him. The book is out there on Grant Williams.
Not on our watch, Grant.